All right. Well, that's a really good introduction to a spiritual show. You are here in my sanctuary today, Joan of Angels, Desert Heart Sanctuary, where we paint divine beings, we talk to cannabis plants, we talk to spirit, and most important, we are now broadcasting this 420 Spiritual Living, which is a show that's really designed to show you the different ways that cannabis can open your heart, open the door to a greater consciousness, help heal your body, mind, and your spirit all simultaneously. And so there is a lifestyle, a 420 lifestyle and a 420 spiritual life all together now. And that was one of the purposes of the show. So I'm always really excited when I start to see some of you showing up. Oh, it's so great to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so we're going to first start off with, hold on, there. We're going to first start off with a little invocation since it is 420 here in California. And as my friend Kay says, it's 420 somewhere on the world, everywhere at 420, at my 420. So I just want us to all come together for a minute. Take a deep breath in with me. Whew, and let it all out. And you know, one of the beauties of cannabis, of course, is that it does allow you to drift into that greater consciousness. So just take another deep breath in and let it all out. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Mother, Father, God, we ask just now that we be filled, surrounded, and protected with the light, with our angels, with our guides, with the cannabis spirit guides, those guides of the plants, that our teacher plants, let them teach us what we need to know. And we ask for healing and wisdom and clarity, this life, past life, and future lives. And so it is. So there it is. Just take that deep breath and shift into a little bit of a different state of consciousness. Avon wants to make sure that you know he's here. He is definitely the oversoul of the show. And he does say that extraterrestrial star beings and cannabis go hand in hand, actually, that it was the star beings that brought cannabis and brought other psychedelic plants here for healing on our world and also to raise our consciousness. I just think that's familiar. I mean, fantastic, not familiar. I didn't know them in those days. And don't forget, we have our ceremonial pipe, still empty. It's still ceremonial with that beautiful lizard over here. So I just want everyone to see that. All right. So before I bring my fantastic guest on, and she is here in the sanctuary with me, I'm going to mention, let's see, I did say I'm Joan of Angels, right? I did say that I'm an oracle, an artist, a visionary artist, and I help people remember who they are. And so part of that helping people remember who they are, I always like to pull cards for people. And this comes from a deck, the Earth Warrior Oracle deck. And the reason I use this deck is that it creates a feeling of community. And that feeling of community is just extremely exciting and nourishing as we start and we kind of gather together. So this card is called the Guardian of the Aumakua. And she is actually one of the spiritual guardians of Hawaii. She wants us all to know this. She says that it's a concept of remembering that we are in a battle, a spiritual warfare. And I do think that's an interesting concept. She says that when you find that you're blocked on your path, obstacles on your path, that is actually part of this spiritual warfare. What is keeping you from manifesting your destiny? So she's here today with us, two wise owls on either shoulder. She's here with us today to help us look at what do we need to let go of? What do we need to shift in our life? What do we need to let go of? What is in our way? And how do we clear that and let go of any spiritual obstacles that are in our path? And so she is here with us too. All right, now we have an amazing guest. I'm going to tell you, well, I think I'll play the video. Now I have to think it through, but our guest is going to come on after our next video, but you have to know a little bit about her, okay? She is the president of Faerie Jane, which is a cannabis consulting company specializing in helping clients navigate this new emerging industry of cannabis, which is an amazing industry. So she has 20 years in asset management and 6 years building and facilitating networks in the cannabis business. So she's very passionate about bringing people together, bringing investors together, and also in bringing information to us. She's also the founder of High Dining, and that's where she takes fine dining to new heights, okay, with upscale, low dose, meaning microdose experiences infused with education and cannabis, of course. She's the chief operating officer of Mary Jane University and the founding co-chair of Women Grow Orange County. And also, actually, she's going to tell you a lot about herself. She's also very interested in CannaTourism. I actually met her at a cannabis tourist event, which was very exciting. So I'm going to show you my latest creation. And when we come back, she'll be with me. All right. Whoa, 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 All right. Oh my God. I love that kind of music. I don't know. It really makes me feel like I'm at a party with you, Barbie. Guys, this is Barbie Sommars. She's all those wonderful things that I was telling you about, and I'm so happy to welcome her to my studio.
Thank you for having me, Joan. I always love being in the Desert Heart Sanctuary, surrounded by all your awesome art. And I really love that video. I was just listening to reggae on my way in, so that was perfect.
And right, didn't you tell me that you'd love to use music in your cannabis experiences? And you're doing these videos. Now tell us about that.
Well, because I love pairing, if you will, cannabis with music, just in my personal life, I just feel like you really can immerse yourself into the song and hear all of the instruments. And I'm really receptive to bass. And I just really love the two. And I always feel like dancing. And I don't know, that's what I was just telling you casually. I think I'm going to do like some more reels. And
she might be dancing in a few minutes, right? For us, is right. So I think of Barbie. I invited Barbie on the show because, first of all, I met her at Lulu's restaurant at a cannabis event on tourism and cannabis. So I wanted to learn more about fine dining and how you use cannabis. And so you have a company now called High Dining, right?
Yes.
So tell us, well, let's start with High Dining.
Yeah, High Dining that's a hot topic lately with the, more commonplace, we're getting to be more commonplace with the usage of cannabis as an ingredient. So there's cannabis cooking shows and cannabis cookbooks, and there's chefs that identify as cannabis chefs. And it's a hot topic right now, and I hope it never goes away because I believe cannabis is a superfood. I also, if you're using it raw, and then if you're doing it to, get the high, I just think it's such a perfect pairing with food. I mean, everybody's heard of the munchies. Food just seems to taste more delicious, just like music is more sensuous with cannabis. our senses are heightened.
Right. No, I agree. So tell us more though. How did you get into this, into cooking with cannabis and this whole lifestyle that you have? Because it is a lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. You can add cannabis into your lifestyle. I highly recommend it. But how did I think of dining with cannabis?
Yeah, so how did you come to do your are you a chef by nature? Or?
I'm not. I actually wanted to just have a more casual dinner party. I do have a background in events. When I left corporate America, I started doing festivals, which it really allowed me to use a lot of my operations skills, because there's a lot of moving parts to a festival. And I did an Earth Day festival and a bunch of other music festivals. And I like creating events. I also love creating educational opportunities for people, because I love learning. I love sharing what I learn. I love putting on events where people, including myself, are learning. Interesting people are invited as special guests, and people that I think are interesting for my guests to interact with in a smaller scale social environment than a festival. So what I love doing now are these very small scale intimate things. And I thought about doing it in my backyard when I lived in Long Beach. I was talking to a chef. It was just going to be pretty on the download. I didn't mean to start a whole business. And then I saw the opportunity, though. There are cannabis events out there I was going to, and they're fun. I didn't see anybody really blending food, like super delicious food, with cannabis, at least not in my area. So this was back in the Prop 215 days. We started high dining. People used to have to give us medical recommendations to enter our events.
I love that. So I have to tell you, just so you know, my original experience with cooking with cannabis was cannabis those brownies. And I remember, taking some cannabis and mixing it with butter. Probably didn't even know how, the proper temperature, and then use it. That's all I know or knew up until recently.
Yes. Well, we've gone far beyond the brownie. Thank goodness. Right. There's the whole savory application of it as well, and the raw application. And what I mean by that is no heat applied. So you can use raw leaves, or there's some raw tinctures out there, or you can make your own. There's a brand I like that's shippable all over called Awakened Every Day. There's not that many raw out there, but I really, when I talk about cannabis being a superfood, it's on that side. And then there's the fun side that gets you high.
Okay, wait. Okay, so you're talking about the raw cannabis that's considered a superfood, that you grind up into powder, that you put in juices or in your bath, or you don't have
to grind it up in a powder, although there is a company out there that does powderized, even with seasoning, because that's how they intend, is why not add extra cannabinoids onto whatever you're creating. But now with raw, and then you're using it in cuisine, the whole point of raw is that it's never been heated up. So just don't put it or use it in a recipe that applies heat, because then you prevent the whole reason of it being raw.
So that's my question. My question is then, so raw, tell us the benefits of raw, just so I know.
Yeah, so you've probably heard the term full spectrum.
Yes.
An entourage effect.
Yes.
And, there's over 100 cannabinoids. I know many focus on the two they've memorized, THC and CBD.
Right.
There's a lot more. And even in dispensaries today, I'm already seeing CBN, CBG, THCV. So I'm glad that the conversation is going well beyond those two. And there are a lot more on the raw side. You're also getting the acidic precursors of THC and CBD. They only turn into, those precursors are CBDA, the A stands for acid, and THCA. So they only convert to CBD and THC when heat is applied. So on the raw side, there are so many benefits, so many health benefits. I won't go into listing everything today, but I advise everybody, research raw cannabis and think about incorporating it into your diet and your wellness.
Because I have heard of people using it for cancer and other treatments, and juicing it raw. So you don't get high from it, then you're saying?
No.
But the benefits are, first of all, it's a green drink.
Mm-hmm.
And we know
you
how
may feel
healing
like
it
kind
is.
of energized, but you're not going to feel that
Mhm.
euphoria that is normally associated with being high with THC.
I love that. That's so helpful. So we'll talk about a little bit more. Guys, let us know where you're from. So we kind of have an idea, and you all know this is Barbie Sommars. We're just talking about food and cannabis. So then now you're talking about pairing. Then are you talking about when you pair like your food with wine, or you pair it with, like, you serve these full course meals and you don't have wine, right? Or you do?
We have had wine. We've actually had a woman named Jamie Evans be a guest sommelier, and she comes from the wine industry. She's also an educator on terpenes, and she basically guided our guests through the particular flower that was paired with the main course. She guided them through what they were smelling. You know, we like them to have this tactile experience.
Wow.
We don't give grinders, so everyone gets an eighth. And I even have the farmer present. I really think it's important to know your farmer. Just like at the produce farmers markets, we love knowing our farmer. I don't know why we feel so differently. Like why not have the same with regards to your cannabis? And for my events, I tend to use small biodynamic farms in Emerald Triangle, usually Mendocino or Humboldt. And I bring the farmer down at my Moonlit Movable Feast, which is one of my productions, because I think it's just so nice for the guests to connect with the farmer and hear the story behind the fruit, that they are all, we treat it as a sacrament. We all smoke at the same time. It's guided. And we are all on the same journey with the same flower.
I love that. I love that.
So I ask people not to bring in any outside medicines so that we can all stay on the same journey. And everything is curated to the finest detail.
That sounds actually fantastic. Absolutely. I love that. So can we do this at our own home too? Or, like how do we incorporate cannabis then in events in our own home?
So I've learned a lot by doing these events over the years. There's things to watch out for, like crossfade. There's also things you can do to make your guests feel comfortable if they aren't already familiar with cannabis etiquette at a party. Like at my event, I have a little smoke circle, but there's a guide there. And when we do private occasions too, if someone wants to have a dinner party that's with cannabis and with cannabis education, which I think in this nascent, trend, they need to be together. I think it's irresponsible almost to have a party without the education, because people have so many questions. And the number one thing is really mind your milligrams, know how many milligrams you're eating. And as a host, let all of your guests know how many milligrams they're eating so they can, mentally prepare for what's going on. You don't want surprises. You don't want paranoia or anxiety within your dinner party.
I find that really interesting. So that's part of what you mean in cannabis etiquette, because I wanted to go, okay, what do you mean by cannabis etiquette? What an amazing word. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking cannabis etiquette is going to be the same all around the world. Okay, in London too, although it's not legal there, or from New York. But you give us a good idea of cannabis etiquette.
Well, in that regards, I was talking about the smoke circle. Some people are like, would you really always pass it to the left? Or where do I blow my smoke? Like, is it not polite to, so... and nowadays with COVID, we're not really doing that ritual anymore, but that used to be a kind of a favorite thing at my event. Or if you're a family pod and one day you feel comfortable doing this, it's just nice for one of the people to sort of play that role. And I would, especially if it's any beginners in your party at all, keep the dosages really low. I cap mine at 10 milligrams per event. As far as ingestible THC, we microdose throughout the night, and I also incorporate CBD in the beginning and the end, and coffee at the end. Really try to bring.
But if you have seconds, wait,
no seconds. There are no seconds. We do
That's
4
how
courses.
She calculates it.
Yes, okay. So usually satisfied and satiated.
Okay.
And then they float around, and Moonlit Movable Feast, they get to choose your own adventure, I call it. You can go watch live music or get a card reading or look at a telescope because we're under a full moon, and I have an educator there. And also the guests are intentionally, the invited guests are all very interesting. It's some of the most rich, enriching conversations you'll ever, I mean, people end up being best friends after this. Or the Duchess, you can go into her chillum chapel, and she teaches people how to really intentionally smoke on a chillum. And it gives them a sense of reference. Oh, it's a pipe. It's a certain kind of.
I knew it. I don't know anything anymore.
It's a big, and then she teaches them how to like chug and get it going. But there's this sacred aspect to it. And one of the things I do want people to think of cannabis is not just something to get high with. It's something to be used with intention. And I know that's what your show is all about.
Right.
Is the spiritual aspect of it.
Or the consciousness of it, the mindfulness of it, the benefits of it, and I'm particularly excited.
Spirit.
Yeah. How often do you take a pill, a pharmaceutical, it's not going to open your consciousness to new dimensions unless it's morphine. Okay. So you're not really going to get body, mind, and spirit healing. So I'm a passionate fan of cannabis for that reason. But so you brought up an issue, which I think is interesting. How do us normal people know how much cannabis to use when you're cooking? I have tried to understand. I do have this book, it's supposed to teach you how to do it. And even that seemed to be complicated. I couldn't get if it's a 1-to-1 ratio, 1-to-2. And then how many milligrams is in the end result?
Well, this brings up, I'm just going to make a point about home infusions.
Right.
Because when you're talking ratios, I'm sure you're talking about branded, tested products that people can find in a dispensary. But as far as home infusion, therein lies the brownie problem. And I've had so many people be hesitant to come to my dinner party, which 10 milligrams is a low dose. But if they have no experience with what 10 milligrams even means to them, they don't know if that's a lot or not. And so they'll go, I had a brownie 40 years ago and I haven't touched it since, but I only ate half. And I'm like, well, you still don't know how many milligrams were in that half. It could have been 500.
Right, because they didn't measure it then.
I just want everyone to beware with home infusions. If you got some treats from your friend, block out a day or two, just in case they're super strong. Don't think you have to drive anywhere or do anything important.
Oh my God.
Or operate heavy machinery. So anyway,
I want you to know something, guys. I did that by accident once and never again. All right. Yeah. My son had to come and rescue me that day. So that's how bad it was, because I didn't know how much was in it. It was a homemade, try this kind of thing.
Yeah, you're not alone. Even I have a bad brownie story.
Right?
Yeah. So at my events, I always use branded, tested, licensed ingredients. So we know what the ratios are. And then as far as how much is actually in say if it's a tincture in the dropper, you really got to pay attention to the labeling. Right. And you're going to probably have to do some math. So I would say don't smoke before you read that label. So you can figure it out. Right. Some of these things, especially, if it's a 1-to-1 even, a whole dropper full of that is really going to give you a reaction. And if you're cooking for other people, just be kind and really start out low dose. It's not funny to overdose somebody. Some people have very adverse reactions. Also, if anybody's on blood pressure medication, they could have a drug interaction. So it's not funny and it's not kind. You should always let people know how many milligrams they're
right. No, right. And so sometimes I get edibles handed to me that I have no idea. And it's I have to wait. I'm cautious that way because I don't want to fall apart in the middle of the world. That's all I can say.
Or while you're driving or something.
And that's what happened, while I was driving. So not fun. That was many years ago. But nowadays, there's just so many different ways to take cannabis. Like, what's your favorite way? Just out of curiosity.
Oh my gosh, depends on the moment.
Oh God! Now, see, now I'm going to learn different etiquette for different moments, right? Okay, let's go.
Oh, well, I gotta say I'm a flower girl. I do like concentrates, but I don't do them all that often. And I really want to appreciate the flower. And that's actually, the flower is the highlight of all of the dinner parties too. We take such great care choosing the right flower. We want people to know all about it, where it was grown, who grew it. And that's the same kind of stuff I like to know about the flower I get. And I'm familiar with the brands, and that's what I tell people too. Like, educate yourself. You don't just have to only choose what's currently in the dispensary. You can familiarize yourself with other brands. Go to other dispensaries. They are not all the same.
Right.
There's a lot of variety out there. And ask for your favorite brand. We're going to get to that point as consumers where we get to ask for our favorite brands.
Right.
So,
when they have the advertising billboard, like Marlboro's, you'll see some handsome dude smoking a Lowell Farms or, a Henry's or whatever.
I'm always asking for the hippie weed, the cannabis that's really grown with intention on those small farms. And some of them are multi-generational farms. I love farms with stories. So those are the farmers that I like to highlight in my events. So being that I'm a flower girl, I gotta say that's my favorite way to consume. I have a bong at home. Sometimes I will roll a joint, especially if I'm gonna go somewhere, because we've talked about how I love the music connection. If I'm gonna go see live music, I'll roll a joint to go and take it with me and pull it out at the show.
Yes, because it'll enhance the music.
Yeah.
And it will enhance the experience, and it makes almost every note count.
It does.
On that level of consciousness, it's like you're hearing the music for the first time, even if you've heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah, and you feel that vibration in your body more.
Yeah.
That bass.
That's true. No, absolutely true. And it brings people together.
It does.
It absolutely brings people together. That's what we're doing with all of you guys, by the way. And I just want to let everyone know, make sure you please subscribe, like, and share, especially if you are new to the channel. And, so we can actually help grow the channel. That would be fantastic, if you don't mind that. All right, let's go back over here. Good. So, we were talking about the cannabis cooking, the chefs. Were you starting to tell me that these shows are starting to be new cannabis cooking shows? Did I hear that?
Most of them are the competition platform right now, but I've heard in some Clubhouse chat rooms, I know some people are working on more in-depth programming. I would like to see that. I even wrote sort of a draft treatment myself of a show I would like to see. I would like it to incorporate the different ways infusion is possible with skillful chefs. I focus on fine dining, but that doesn't, at home, we may not want to recreate the same recipe or have the same equipment than a chef has. So I do like that sort of. I do love food from chefs.
She's a chef.
No, I'm not. I'm a pretty good cook, but I am not a chef. That's why I really, appreciate them, and I love working with them. And for me, a prerequisite isn't being identified as a cannabis chef, although I do know and love many that identify as that, and they become masters at using it as an ingredient. But I also like working with chefs I just naturally resonate with anyway, to whatever degree their cannabis knowledge is wonderful. And then sometimes I supplement it, or, we work together on okay, I let the menu be the art, meaning I don't let the infusions drive the menu, because my events aren't wired that way. They're not sponsored events like that. I select the product that's appropriate for the menu item, not the other way around. So that also separates us, I think, from some other cannabis event type companies. But that's the trend that I'm seeing, though, more is that the food is important, and fine dining is happening now. And Discovery Plus just had a 420 chopped 420 edition. That's a
is that cooking
competition?
Chop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where like each round a chef gets chopped.
Oh, I'm thinking a chopping board for the cannabis. Okay.
Well, there's that too. And then they give these chefs like a little greenhouse, and they get to go in and like pick any like infused oil or honey or what have you. Or there's also all these eighths of flour. So they get to really showcase what they know about all the various ways of infusion. But at home, like some of the most basic application could be what one of my chefs I work with calls topically, which normally we're used to like putting that on our skin and calling that topically.
Right.
But he likened that to, well, if you basically just drizzle something on top of what you cooked, like straight out of the tincture, or you put it in a sauce and then you're putting the sauce on whatever you created, that's a super easy way for someone at home to infuse. You don't have to know these complicated techniques. But if you do want to eat those beautiful creations, you can call us up at High Dining.
I have been wanting to go to some of your beautiful creations, and you'll probably be doing them soon.
Yeah. Well, we're doing private ones right now.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So, guys, you can all reach out to Barbie at High Dining. Very exciting. So are there? So we're talking about different trends. Okay. What kind of other trends are you seeing in this whole subject of CannaTourism?
Well, definitely food is a huge one. We do talk about that. I work with the Cannabist Travel Association International, which is a worldwide organization where it's a chapter-based organization. So you can look and see if there's a chapter near you, or if you'd like to head up a chapter, you can reach out to them. And it's a really exciting burgeoning thing. I mean, we've all heard of Amsterdam, right? But now there's going to be all kinds of tourism opportunities everywhere. And I'm not just talking about hotels that are cool with it. I mean, full-on experiences, dining, hiking, all kinds of things. As long as, again, you're staying safe, don't operate heavy machinery. I'm seeing that there's going to be more catering to that. Even the city we are currently in, Desert
Hot Springs.
Yes.
What are they going to do?
Well, they have already, their city council's been talking about having some ordinances that would allow retail sales in hotels, as well as consumption in entertainment facilities like bowling alleys and movie theaters. This is the future, people.
What? Consumption in a bowling alley? Don't young people under 18
and not just the sneaky kind, like out in the open?
Oh my! In the bowling alley. Okay, this is hot news right off the press.
Well,
but what about the kids? Like, what about the kids?
It hasn't been
smell
approved.
And there's been so much.
Well, these would be mostly for adult facilities. That's how we're talking now. But and by the way, this hasn't been approved. It's still, I don't think it has been, but it's still being talked about. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. So we'll see. I'm just saying, like, this is a glimpse into the forward thinking that is happening to cater to people that like to use cannabis. And I'll say this now because a lot of things are alcohol centric. All of our activities, as well as a lot of our celebrations, historically have been alcohol centric, will continue to be as we have an increase in cannabis users. So one thing I'm really concerned about is crossfade for the people that do both. Although I know so many people that, I've met in the cannabis industry that haven't had a drink in a while, like they don't crave it or miss it at all.
I haven't. I have had alcohol once recently, but before that it was like, that was with our friend Lynn. We had a little, what did we have? It was at the Japanese restaurant.
Sake.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't drink.
Yeah.
And I lost all appetite for it. And cannabis is so much healthier if you want to just come home and relax. I think that
that's what I say.
And it's not as violent. It's not as violent, and it doesn't impact unless you have an out of control problem with it or an addiction problem of it. So I wanted to ask you some other questions though. So you're talking about, okay, cannabis infused events. So I know about cannabis and yoga, right? Cannabis and art, puff and paint. So then you made me think, oh my God, people are going to have these hiking clubs, cannabis hiking clubs, right?
Yeah.
Or cannabis dance clubs.
Yeah. I mean, there's already consumption lounges that they're free to have a dance night. I don't think there's a special license for that. We're not living in the Footloose days.
Oh God.
So, yeah. I think that more and more in the consumption lounges, and if you haven't been to one, by the way, they're so cool. Just to be able to hang out, and you still have like that bar social aspect, but there's no alcohol there. Everybody's, enjoying cannabis, and there's music there and different entertainment usually. So this is a glimpse into the future of what it's going to be like. There will be cannabis bars that just have the same kind of entertainment that alcohol bars do.
Well, it would sort of be, right. So I suppose at some point they'll have a bar that brings it all together, if you have people who do one or the other.
Well, that'll have to change in the state law. But that may change one day. I just expect people to relax more and more and more about cannabis. Mm-hmm. I know a woman in the industry says it's not plutonium. So, we don't have to treat it like it's plutonium. I think once more of us get used to what it is and that it's a good thing for us.
Right. We had a word for it last week when I was talking to Normal. There was a word they were using about cannabis. Cannabis, it was like being kind of prejudiced against, discriminated against, and that people who smoke cannabis felt kind of shy in certain situations.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was also illegal. Like they didn't want to go to jail.
Oh, right. There's that aspect.
That's why we had to be kind of shy.
That's true, but even nowadays, there's like
you don't want to be judged on your usage. You mean?
Well, here I am.
Judged.
Here I am, Dr. Joan Hangarter, chiropractor, and I talk to people about using cannabis for medical and spiritual reasons. And so, so there are places that I just feel a little funny about it. Yes. It took me years to start this show.
I know. Well, that's the coming out of the cannabis closet, I think is what you're speaking of. I mean, and sometimes people are still closeted around their family, but all their friends know, or there's like people at their work don't know. It's everyone's individual journey. But I think if you describe your usage in a really respectful way, like if it's helping you sleep, why would someone judge you and be upset with you for taking a natural medicine to help you sleep? It's better than the prescription drugs. And if anyone's going to shame anyone, I don't know. Sorry.
Right. No. I agree. So this is must have been a client of yours. I learned how to smoke safely in one of your circles.
No germs.
That
must have been with our little, we had a little joint bubbler. And also there's a technique, I wouldn't say it's no germs, but if you really cup all the way around the joint and so your lips are only touching your hand, not the actual joint, but then of course the joint's touching you. So that's not a COVID thing. That wouldn't be COVID safe. Actually, what I recommend now is everybody mini joints. And a lot of dispensaries are offering these now. They also are known as dog walkers because they're just little tiny joints.
I never heard that term, dog walkers.
Yeah, it's enough to get through on your dog walk.
Oh my goodness. Why didn't I think of that?
But it's still, for me, it would last a few dog walks. Cannabis is pretty strong. And I actually took a tolerance break last year and I'm loving my low tolerance again. And I'm wanting lower THC percent because I enjoy that ritual of smoking. Like maybe I do want to smoke at the whole dog walk, but I don't want it to send me to outer space.
Right.
I want to still make it home.
So do you think the cannabis has changed over the years? Because it sounds
Oh,
like
yeah,
you've been using
definitely.
cannabis a lot.
It's definitely
Mhm.
changed as we've gotten better at, or not, better's not the right word, but there, more attention to detail on the genetics and the breeding of cannabis, where I know the days of when you didn't really have much choice at all.
No choice. It was, oh God, the dealer has this great weed from Mendocino. It's Mendo weed. I lived in New York. So anything
Wow.
from California, but that was the only choice you got was, the dealer has this great weed.
Or the Mexican brick.
Or the Mexican brick.
Many OGs speak of.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have, how many strain names are there? There's just a multitude of things. And that's why it is important to know more about it so you can select a flower that you think is going to work well with your body. And that's why I want people to go beyond the idea of indica, sativa, and hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
Genetically speaking, most things in a dispensary are hybrid, if we want to get technical. But I think what's really happened in the industry is the word indica has been rebranded to mean relaxing and sedative. The word sativa has been rebranded to mean energizing and uplifting.
And social, right?
But really, for me, I've always said it's more about the physiology of the plant. An indica plant's a short plant with broad leaves. A sativa plant's a tall plant with narrow leaves. And this information is valuable to breeders, cultivators, growers, not so much everyone else down the supply chain. But we started saying those things like, oh, I want an indica couch meat, but not always, and also that we are all different too. There's some people that, might have we smoke the same thing and they'll have a totally opposite reaction than me. So I tell everybody, you are on your own journey, educate yourself about terpenes, pay attention to what something smells like, and then how you felt after you smoked it. Keep a strain journal. And also know that the name isn't always meaningful either.
So that's really important, the strain journal. My sister had been telling me this for years, and I've just started paying attention. I'm a slow learner, okay? And then I have friends who think it's the percentage of THC. So it's the high THC, but
that's not always the case. The terpenes really steer the effect. So you might get a lower THC percentage with a powerful terpene profile and have a way better ride or stronger ride, whatever you're trying to achieve, than just going in and straight up asking for the highest percentage. I say go for something terpene rich. Mm-hmm. I would trust your sense of smell over the name of anything, or even that brand of indica, sativa, or hybrid.
You need to smell it, to always smell it.
And I know dispensaries aren't allowed to pop it open and smell. That's what I really miss about the old days too. You used to be able to smell your flower before you bought it. So now, I say, if you don't know what terpenes are in there and the bud tender doesn't know, maybe try to go by the name, but just know that that's also not 100% foolproof either. Like there could be like 20 growers grow OG Kush, and it'll end up different in the testing.
Different in all of them.
Yeah, there's not consistent. And maybe some growers think they're growing OG Kush, and they can literally name it whatever they want to name it. So trust your nose more than the name.
Right. But they don't always list the terpenes in them either. So,
but that's where I'm like, okay, go to Leafly and be like, okay, lemon, Kush OG, or anything lemony or citrusy should be uplifting.
Right. So
things that are more floral or earthy might be more chill. Pinene is a terpene that's in a lot. So if something smells piney or lemony, that's going to be a more uplifting thing. And if you're like doing it in the daytime, or you want it for creativity, maybe you're going to gravitate more towards those, and you can find out which ones by their name and hope that that's for real. And you'll know it's for real after you smell and go like, okay, that does smell like pine.
Well, so I like this because you're really talking about how to do it intentionally. So if you're going to consume cannabis in your lifestyle, so say for me, in painting, all the work I do, I want to know what I'm taking so that I know if I can work or not. Nothing is worse that you're planning to work and somehow you've now taken yourself off the work path.
Yeah.
And now you're sort of a mess over there.
The strain journal is important too. And I don't mean just write down the name of the strain and how you felt. It also has to be, what did it smell like? What do you think it smelled like, Joan? And how did it make you feel? Did you have creative brilliance that day? And if that's what you're trying to achieve, again, which is also with your intention before you smoke.
What are you trying to achieve? Mm-hmm. Yes. Hey, guys, if you have any questions for our friend Barbie or for me, just feel free to ask them. Curious, I know that it's not legal in London, or maybe it is, but curious about that. I think New York just made it legal, didn't it?
Yeah.
They just passed it in
New
York.
Big deal.
Mm-hmm. You know, we've had cannabis legal here for so many years. And I really, honestly, when it was medical marijuana, it was still, in my mind, legal. Then you can get a medical card. So I haven't considered, someone's at our door. I think it's a package from Amazon. We're going to let them leave it.
An angel got their wings.
Oh, an angel that got their wings. Yes. Oh, my God. Yes. That's what happens when you do the show. Okay, Yvonne, tell me who you think that is. Oh, my God. Okay. I'll tell you a funny story about Yvonne. See his eyes?
Yes.
I took him once to a plant medicine ceremony, my first plant medicine. It was not cannabis, it was plant medicine. And I laid him down on my chair. And then my girlfriend came in and she was so embarrassed that I had brought my extraterrestrial that she made me put him out in the car. So I did, I put him in the car. And then about 2 hours into the medicine, this woman, I didn't know anyone there, walking around going, I see these big black eyes. Does anyone know where they came from? The consciousness of this extraterrestrial remained in the room, and on plant medicine, she was able to see his energy. She's walking, she says she sees these big black eyes in the room. He was in my car.
Did you show it him?
Well, then I got sent to the car to bring him in. They all laughed that I had to hide him in my car. Okay, so closet hiding the cannabis, now I'm hiding the extraterrestrial. Yes, all right. Well, this is an enlightening conversation, guys. I love some of the stuff you brought up today, like cannabis etiquette. That of how you smoke it, you're intentional. What is your favorite kind of? So let me backtrack. I like cannabis that makes me feel like I can meditate or lift into another conscious direction, like into new realms of thoughts. That's kind of like my favorite thing to do.
I imagine it is.
I do, and I do great readings that way too. I will admit.
You get into your what they would call the flow, in the flow. I like different things for different times. I might be wanting to relax and go to sleep. I also might want to do it in the daytime when I know I'm going to be creative, and I know things that don't mix well with cannabis. Right. Like math, for example. That's why I was advising you're going to do your dosage calculation.
Oh.
For me, I would do that sober.
Math does not work with cannabis.
For me.
Unless you're one of those sativa-driven, focused nerd brains, maybe that can follow. Okay, but I get it. Barbie should never do it.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Different varieties for different times. What do we have?
Well, no, it sounds really good. Look, any questions, guys, for our friend Barbie? I like this, that he learned how to smoke in your smoking circles.
Yeah, who is that?
Well, he's a Facebook user.
I know, there's no name on it.
No, there's no name. So what else are you up to now? I know that you have a show. Aren't you on a show, something like The View?
Oh, yes. I am on a show called Ladies Kitchen.
Ooh.
On Green Bee Life. And Green Bee Life is a cannabis education network, and it's a really wonderful source for newbies. And I think even, people that have been using cannabis can still always learn a thing or two. The science, there's more science coming in all the time. So things like these etiquette conversations or usage and dosage conversations, we, along with, so the ladies of Mary Jane University, myself, Frances Shawwecker, and Lindsay Jones, we all use cannabis in various ways. They are moms, so the mom perspective is always an interesting one too. And we are educating Maria Calabrese in her kitchen. So she founded Green Bee Life, but she's also, it's also like this is her journey. Some of the programming is that. So she's a cannabis curious person. And
that's
she's
a great
the perfect
word.
person to be asking these questions, which the ladies of Mary Jane University answer in a kitchen environment. And it's a really cute, casual show. I think there's a new episode released once a week. And that's again on Green Bee Life.
Got it.
Oh, that was Tracy that learned.
Green Bee Life?
Yes, .com.
Okay, well, guys, you just use your imagination.
Yeah.
Green Bee Life. That's that. And I saw one of your shows, and you showed me your trailer or whatever. It was fantastic. It was like sitting and watching The View. Very educated, very fun, very informational. Like I find this really informational. Every so often you're dropping these really great pearls of wisdom about using cannabis, about being really conscious, about how much you smoke and not. But also the other thing is knowing what's right for you. Like the whole thing of medicating. I think the reason the medical profession's been against cannabis is that people are self-medicating.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. But expect to see pharmaceuticals coming out with isolated cannabinoids. There's already patents for it. The pharmaceutical companies are already working on it, and they're going to come out with some great drugs. But cannabis is the people's plant, many of us say. And I always advise people, grow it. Grow it. Make your own topicals, tinctures. I know you grew a plant yourself.
I did. I had my one baby indica plant it was a sativa hybrid, but it fueled all of this art. And then I planted 3 indica seeds that did not make it. So living here in the desert, but I would like a house plant. Actually, I'd like a cannabis house plant to be with me for the shows. Yeah. Like there'll be Yvonne on one side and my house plant on the other.
Well, we usually have a live plant at our productions because a lot of people have never seen a live plant. Oh, yeah. But I also like the idea of the spirit of the plant being there. I mean, there is such a thing as plant intelligence.
Yes.
And it's nice to have that plant there and present. I really would love to see one on the show.
Well, there will be one on the show next week. We're buying clones. That's all there is to it. The house will be infused because I want to have this plant living inside the house. Right?
She's the guest of honor.
She'll be the guest of honor, and I'll introduce her to all of you. Send clones, guys. Not money, send clones. A house full of clones to grow from the inside out. So that's so interesting. So that was Tracy who'd been to one of your events.
Yes.
Okay. And we have the Green Bee Life up here for everyone. Mm-hmm. So this has been just really a treat to have you on. I'm thinking, what else do I want to know? We highlighted cannabis tourism, which I think is so phenomenal. I do know that in Colorado, they can pick you up at the airport. You could start smoking, and you can't do that here in California, but there's different rules in every state, actually.
Yeah, although I think there is MJ Med Tours might pick you up at LAX. I'm not sure. Look into that, everybody, because things change rapidly.
MJ Med Tours. Okay. Well, if you're flying in, look them up. We hot off the press. We did not know this. We have some phenomenal places here in Coachella. She's going after to this place called 420 Bank, which is just like a nightclub or a disco, more like a disco.
I haven't been there yet.
Right?
You have. Okay, I usually hang out at the Vault. So.
Well, I like the Vault because I know everyone and it's quiet.
Yeah.
And I could work there. So I go to and I sit there and I work, and if I have to go over the other side and I'm spending the whole day there on the other side, it's a great place to take a break. But this place also has a whole pinball room and great music. I hear that the music is great. It's just very trendy, sophisticated. It's the High Life in Palm Springs.
Oh, wow.
You guys are all invited to the High Life in Palm Springs. So do you have any High Life events or any events you want everyone to know about before we shift the conversation?
I don't have any scheduled events. I am available for private events. So we usually gear those towards what kind of cuisine the client wants because I work with several chefs. And other than that, I'm still, going around and flying into various dispensaries as Faerie Jane. And I like doing dispensary and product reviews there. It's sort of a little character I have, not Mary Jane, I'm Faerie Jane. And I have my wings. I say cannabis gives me wings. And I love to just talk about it, like I'm talking here now, like you just said, like drop a little nugget here or there. And I just chat about products that I've tried or dispensaries that I've been to.
So you're going to have a moonlit event this year?
Not this year.
Feast,
I am going to have one in 2022. I'm just, keeping my distance from COVID and, waiting for a full rebound before we're like blending. Yeah, but I do have a couple of private things that may be coming up that the public will be invited with, some collaborations, which I cannot speak of just yet, but there's some really exciting things with some super exciting chefs coming up. So you can follow the High Dining page for those announcements.
Sweet. And that's the website right there. Or faeriejane.com. That was wonderful. I just so appreciate that. I want everyone to give her a big hand so that we can all hear her from across the seas. Okay. So guys, I'm just so appreciative you're here. You're here with me, Joan of Angels, also Dr. Joan Hangarter. So part of my interest in cannabis is my medical mind goes so crazy of alternative health and healing. It's been my whole life's work, is that people can heal from the inside out, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And so to me, it is a plant that needs to be taken out of the closet. And even the fact that I have reservations, sometimes it took me months, or years to come up to actually do the show. The show was a little thought in my mind, but to have the courage, the confidence that now it's time to come out and do a cannabis show. So that's a kind of a big deal for me. And then
it's brave.
Yeah, it is brave. And all the cannabis art that I started to do. So guys, the whole point is that each of us has to learn how to, if you're interested, how to use this kind of plant in your life on a day-to-day life or a spiritual life or just for events. But the plant can have an amazingly healing effect in your life. The cannabinoids in the plant happens to wake up the cannabinoids in your body, and it allows you to have healing from the inside out. And it's what they call a teacher plant, an adaptogen. It knows. It's like you don't have to take and say, okay, cannabis, just go treat my back pain now. It just knows. It says, oh, look, there's a little out of balance in that area right there. And we're going to go and open that up, or we're going to bring the hormones into balance. So the circulation. So it actually has an effect. So that is the other reason why I'm so excited to share all of my friends. I've been sharing with you all some of my great friends that are in my journey of understanding how we can raise our vibrations in our 420 life. And I'm very interested in speaking to the cannabis plant and the guides of cannabis, the spirit guides of cannabis, which are here with us, which have messages for all of us, like the message that I gave us when we began, which was the message of it was a very, very interesting message of really looking at all the obstacles and the challenges in your life. This is a good message for the week because we're in a Piscean moon right now. So Pisces is your consciousness and your moon. But looking at all your challenges and obstacles, understand that they're all kind of sent as part of a theme to teach you to get stronger, to teach you to learn how to clear them, become a master of clearing those challenges and obstacles, and then moving forward in your life fearlessly. So in a sense, we're just working with you to help you kind of remember who you are and live the life that you're here. And that's what my work's about, Joan of Angels. The readings that I do, the sessions are all about angel activations, cannabis activations, personal soul awakenings. Like how do we actually remember our mission and purpose and why we're here. So with that being said, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight. And Barbie, thank you for bringing on the show. I am going to play that wonderful video again. Please like, subscribe, and share. We are definitely trying to grow this channel, and I need your help to grow it if you like it. All right, here we go. Let's see. All right. Oh, that's how I do it. Yes, so my technology skills get better by the day. Barbie and I are going to go off and dance and do our little thing at 5:20. We love you all. Thank you for being with us. We will see you all next week. Bye for